In this lab recording, I'm going to go over how to get your pre-lab set up and go over some examples of classifying matter. The pre-lab assignment, so in your notebook, write down an objective, write down the background section, so you'll be defining several terms, briefly outline the procedures, and now we're going to go over the pre-lab assignment. The pre-lab assignment, you need to print out or download all of these charts, so pages 60 to 65. And the first thing you want to do is fill out the name or the chemical formula for each series. So series 1 is iron. And if you look at page 57 in your lab manual, so pages 57 and 58, we give you all of the chemical formulas and the names for every single series. It's your job then to fill in whichever is missing. So series 1 for iron, you're given the name. So we're going to write down the chemical formula. Iron, Fe, iron 3 oxide, Fe2O3, etc. For series 2, copper, you're given the chemical formula, so you write down the name. Copper, copper 1 oxide, etc. So for every single series, you need to fill out the name or the chemical formula. The next thing you need to do is identify if it's a pure substance or a mixture. If it's a pure substance, is it an element or a compound? If it's an element, is it a metal or a nonmetal? If it's a compound, is it ionic or covalent? And if it's a mixture, is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? So it's really important to realize in these boxes, you only have one check mark. Only one X for each column. For example, iron I know I've got one chemical formula. So is it an element or a compound? It's an element. And if it's an element, is it a metal or a nonmetal? Well, I know it's a metal, so I'm going to put my X there. How do we know that? So looking at your periodic table, I added our periodic table from our textbook, chapter 4. So you have to find iron on the periodic table. I can see that iron, Fe, is right here, 26 protons. It is a metal. Now looking at Fe2O3, iron is a metal, oxygen is a nonmetal. Let's keep that in mind when we classify it. So I know in terms of an element or a compound, well, it's a compound because I have two or more elements combined. It must also be ionic because I have a metal and a nonmetal. So that would be my one check mark. A couple notes. An element, we have just one chemical symbol. For a compound, we have two or more elements combined. Ionic, metal, plus a nonmetal. And covalent, two or more nonmetals. So anytime we classify something as a pure substance and have to determine if it's an element or a compound, metal, nonmetal, ionic, covalent, you need to refer back to the periodic table. Let's look at iron 3 nitrate nonahydrate. So that chemical formula, FeNO3, so it's a hydrate, nonahydrate.9H2O. Okay. This is one chemical formula. For every one iron 3 nitrate, you've got 9 H2Os. That makes it a compound. So it's a compound, and I know that iron is a metal, and nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen are all nonmetals. So this is a ionic compound. iron 3-nitrate solution, FeNO3 aqueous. Remember, aqueous means dissolved in water. That means I've got the chemical formula FeNO3 and H2O that makes it a mixture. Anything that is aqueous by definition is homogeneous mixture. So anytime you see AQ, think homogeneous mixture. So that'll get you started. A couple other examples I would like to go over or bring your attention to. If we look at our organic chemicals, something that's really important to pay attention to, just because something is a liquid does not make it a mixture. Students oftentimes look at a sample and it's a liquid and think it's a mixture. No. This hexane, C6H14, one chemical formula, liquid, this is a pure substance. It's just one chemical formula. And I know carbon and hydrogen are both nonmetals, so we have a compound. Here, aqueous acetic acid, aqueous homogeneous mixture. Okay, so for all of these liquids, solid, liquid, 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 these are all pure. So it's your job now to figure out if they're ionic or covalent. The next section I want to bring your attention to is Series 9 mixtures. Looking at the title, mixtures, all of these are going to be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. So it's your job to figure out which one. And remember, only one check in that box. Because they're mixtures, you will not be using any of these. Okay, that's oftentimes students confuse that. And then when I check them over in lab, I give you a response back and a reminder to check only if it's a mixture. So I'm telling you this now. The last thing I want to go over is basic unit. So basic unit you can see is this column on the right. We'll go back to the beginning. So for basic unit, for pure substances only. So if it's a mixture, like our aqueous, just write down Na, which just stands for not applicable. Pure substances only, atom, molecule, or formula unit. Remember, formula unit is the most basic unit of an ionic compound. So any time you have the check mark that is ionic, we'll say this is a formula unit, ionic formula unit. Our other basic units, atom. So atom is if you have just one chemical symbol, like iron, would be an atom. Copper, atom. Molecule is the most basic unit for a covalent compound. So anytime I have a covalent compound, my most basic unit is a molecule, like H2O. Okay, some good examples here, right? Covalent, so this is a molecule for the basic unit. Also, some examples here, chlorine, Cl2. So even though this is just an element and it is a nonmetal, the basic unit is a molecule because it's Cl2, diatomic. Okay. Helium, He, another element, nonmetal. This is an atom because there's only one of them, right? No subscript. So even if it's an element, specifically a diatomic element, we say the basic unit is a molecule. A monatomic atom or a monatomic element, we call an atom. So we went over atom, molecules, and formula units. So for every single sample of matter, you need to have something in this column completed. Remember, if it's a mixture, it's not applicable. One chemical symbol, atom, ionic formula unit. If it's covalent or a diatomic element or polyatomic element, we also have a molecule. So let's write this down. Covalent, and this is also for diatomic atoms or diatomic elements or polyatomic element. Okay, so hopefully this helps you fill out this chart.